this one. Hello, welcome everyone for the first live stream with Advocate Rahul sir. So this is something which is not a planned conversation, as the title says. It's unfiltered with Advocate Rahul Deodhar. To just give a short introduction of Rahul sir. Rahul sir has been in contact with me, like I have been in contact with him since my law school days, even before that actually, when I was doing my bachelor's in Mumbai, and he was studying law, just a college beside my college, and I went to the same law college later. So it's been around 8 to 10 years, I guess. We know each other, right, sir?
I think so.
Okay, so he is a great man, and like his knowledge, wisdom, like it's kind of an ocean for me. So every time I meet him, I learn new things. Um, and I am sure you guys will also learn something new. Specifically, we'll talk about the legal field in these conversations we'll have here in Unfiltered conversations. Now we have Rahul sir. We'll do as many episodes as we can with him. Sometimes we will also try with invite other guests who are willing to come and have a conversation, a free flowing conversation about any topic related to law, directly or indirectly. Okay, so today I was thinking of a topic um, where, especially for it is close to young lawyers and all the law students, because this question is, asked to all of us in some part of our life, our career. Okay, so why do lawyers defend um, corrupt people or someone who is accused of a heinous crime. Uh, so I was reading a thread by Mr. Harish. I am sorry. I'm really sorry. I don't remember the name because I am not able. I was not
Mr.
able to.
Advocate Raichuria.
Raichuria, yes,
Yes.
Advocate Harish Raichuria. So he is also a great person. Do check out his Twitter profile and also on LinkedIn. He has some, I think so. The audio I can, if you can mute. Is it on your side? I can hear my voice. Now I can't. Huh, okay, cool. Yeah. So I was talking about Advocate Harish Raichuria. So you can check it out on LinkedIn, Twitter. He's active on both the platforms of I know, and he's putting out great stuff there. So do check it out. One Twitter thread which I came across was talking about this topic, and I would just like to share one incident with which he ends the Twitter thread. So, a judge of Delhi High Court, I guess. So he retired as a judge from the Delhi High Court, and then he started practicing as a advocate in front of the Supreme Court of India. So he used to travel from Meerut to Delhi every weekend, and once in one of his journey, he didn't find place in the train to sit. Okay, so one maybe like it was quite crowded. So, but one person identified him as the judge, and he somehow made place for him to sit, and the judge sat over there. Then the person told him that, "Do you remember me?" So he was quite confused, like I don't know, maybe because uh, he like during his time as a judge, he used to see so many people in court, like litigants, advocates, witnesses, etc., etc. So so he was just thinking, but he was not able to recollect. So that person told him that I'm that litigant whose only son you have sentenced uh, for life imprisonment or death sentence, I guess. I think no, life imprisonment it was. Um, so he was kind of shocked, and he was not able to like think of how should I reply. So he was stunned there. But then that person told him that that was a correct decision you took, because if you would have set him free, or bailed him or something like that, the opposite party would have murdered my child. Okay, so this like this topic of conversation may open up a can of worms. There is a lot of to talk about, many things here, but one thing which comes to my mind is uh, defending accused, or like why do lawyers do that? Is the first question asked, but I don't want to answer it as a lawyer because I have few points in my mind which most of you also have, like you guys also listening. But let's start with you, sir. So how would you start with your argument when you are asked this question?
Um, no, it's interesting. First of all, when it comes to criminal law, invariably you're defending, unless you're part of the state machinery, you're always defending criminals. Now the question is, who is a criminal? The thing is, in most cases, lawyers don't know. We don't know whether you are criminal or not, even though you might tell us whatever you tell us. But there will be extreme scenarios where your client comes and tells that, yes, I have murdered this person and now you have to save me, and that is a separate outlier kind of a case. But most of the cases are where the kind of crime that we are talking about, and kind of uh, the scope of the allegations that are against the accused, there is a difference and divergence between both of these. So, for example, the police, when you like in a recent case, you might find that the police has applied more than 20 sections, including sedition, conspiracy, and all sorts of sections which have no real bearing on the kind of actions that are being taken by the accused. And in that sense, um, we believe that the accused does stand a chance to get those charges written off. Now, to what extent um, a, an action of the accused, which is definitely committed by him, can it be let off based on advocate's performance? I mean, it depends on what you are doing. Uh, to frame it in a more uh, subtle way, what we can say is that unless you are if you are following the law, you are following the procedure, the onus of proving a guilt is on the other party, is on the state. So long as the state is doing its job and you are doing yours, justice will ultimately be delivered. There will be some plus minus, exactly that happen, but overall, in the broad scheme of things, justice will be delivered. You should not engage in an underhanded manner, and you should not let the state use underhanded tactics. That's all you are there for. The critical aspect of a job of a defense lawyer is to sort of equalize the bargaining power, the difference which exists between the state, which has the entire machinery at its disposal, whereas the individual who is has probably no bargaining power in many cases, unless he is backed by some gang and all that thing, is that a separate issue. But in most cases, the individual does not have a bargaining power against state. So it's your job as an advocate to make sure that this difference in bargaining power doesn't hurt your client, and he only gets punished for what he deserves and not anything extra. That's most likely what you are going to achieve in the best case.
But so the point firstly comes is that you as a lawyer, you are a third person to the party, so you don't know if he has committed the crime or not.
Exactly.
So, but then the question is, the counter question is like asked is, if the accused itself confesses in to you that he has committed the crime, then what do you do?
See, ultimately, accused, you have to understand the motivations, because just because the accused is confessing doesn't mean that he is definitely guilty. He might be protecting the actual perpetrator of that crime. So, you know, in Marathi we say vyakti titkya prakruti. So, the number of people, every person is different.
Yeah.
He will have his own motivations to either defend, either deny his crime, either accept the guilt for someone else's crime, either he is not, aware of what exactly happened, and probably he was drunk and he didn't know. So there are many such cases which are in the gray area, because see, you are assuming ki advocate and the person, the lawyer and the client is one. But for the lawyer it is not so. The lawyer doesn't trust the client because he may not tell you everything. He may not divulge critical piece of information that either proves his guilt or acquits him totally. But for what reason, you don't know. And that is where the psychological game comes in. Basically, you are there to find out the truth. You're there for the judge to discover the truth. You're an officer who's helping the judge arrive at the truth, and that's what it is. See, in one case, I think there is a saying that in a criminal trial, both the parties know who is right or wrong. It is the judge on the who is on the trial, because both of them know who is done what exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And in that same case, the lawyers are also party with along with the judge. So you have to represent law. You are not representing a client per se. You are representing the force of law, and you're being an officer of the court. That's what is the critical aspect of it.
Okay. So, guys, if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat. Those who are watching us. Also, have you faced such situations where you're not sure of the decision you want to take? Like I know, you practice mostly in the high court, but still, like you also have defended criminal cases in high court. So, in even in civil cases, this dilemma may come, like such situations may come. So, have you come across something like that?
In most cases, what happens is people try to because in India legal and legal processes take a long time. So people try to use their own mechanism to arrive at a genuine outcome. Okay, so for example, in one case, um, a person lent some, I don't remember the amount, but 5,000, 10,000 rupees to another person. And in that case, the person ran away. The person who had taken the money, he ran away. So he filed a complaint in the police station. The police, in that uh, circumstances, they found him out, and they asked the person to return his 5,000, 10,000 plus they asked him to return some 5,000 extra. Now, in this case, the police is acting as a
Judge.
investigator and a judge. Okay, this is not technically allowed by law.
Hmm.
But the thing is, the person is he doesn't have any more complaints. So, what do you do? He came, we have settled the matter. He said, "Okay, how did you settle the matter?" He settled the matter because the police sort of did the mediation and the matter ended. Now, technically, this is not allowed, but in all fairness, he got the money, so he is not complaining. So that is one case how it was dealt with at the police station. So now here you don't have a case. So what can you say? This is a actually it's a criminal case if you go into the technicalities. But because the police handled it and then they whatever they did, if you go into the legal process and the procedures, there was critically there were critical lacunae in the process. But what can you say? The second example I want to give is in one case there was this person who bought the flat from a person who was the seller of this flat. He was connected with some underworld. Now, in this case, the seller would not vacate the flat, and the buyer was scared because someone, after he entered and completed the transaction, someone told him that this person you have transacted with is actually some connected with some criminal gangs of sort. So he was in a dilemma whether to pursue legal remedies or what kind of remedies. So the solution was this, and he used it very effectively. That he just went and sat there in front of his house and said to his whoever came out or went in, he just sat there and asked, "When are you going to give the possession?" He did this for 3 days, and he got the possession on the next week. Now this is clearly not under any law. This is without is it? Uh, I mean, I'm sure both parties have committed some sort of, legal transgressions in all this, but these are dealt with outside the court system. So, like I'm telling you here, people try to solve these problems outside the legal system because the legal system takes too long and it is not, helpful. In this process, they create more problems. Now, I'll tell you another example where a legal, you know, remedy was misunderstood by the courts themselves. So, there is a provision under Land Acquisition Act that if you are acquiring, a large chunk of the land and a little bit is left behind, then the person whose land you are acquiring can ask you, this is such a small part that it's of no use to me. So why don't you acquire that part also? So there is a provision in the old Land Acquisition Act which says that this is that the acquiring body can acquire this small piece, which is odd piece, under a separate provision called severance. So when the land is severed, that small piece can also be acquired. Now, using this severance technique, they had acquired a piece of land which had measured something like 2 feet, but along the length of a pipeline. So it was, 100 meters, but it was 1 or 2 feet. So, about, let's say, 1 meter. So in the area, it came out to be something like 100 square meters or something like that. Now, this is a huge area. Now, court, while writing the judgment, they said that such a huge area cannot be adjusted for severance. And it said that this severance is wrongly applied. So we cancel the severance. But now the land is there is a pipeline on that land. So now this land, the owner gets the possession, but he cannot use it because it's under the pipeline. I mean, it's a overland pipeline. So it's under the sort of, it's the bushes of pipeline are on that. He can't use it. He can't give it. He can't sell it. So what is the use? But how to explain this to a judge? Because so this is the legal process which the government officer used, a legal technique. to acquire a legal part of a land legally, but the courts did not understand the legality and the factual metrics of the of the situation, and they undid it. Now it will take another 15 years before the courts understand it, and then it will be returned. I mean, the government will again get it at a higher price. Now, who is going to tell the judge that it is because of your stupidity that government is going to pay so much extra, and the client is not going to get benefit of that? But that's the reality. How that's how it works.
Maybe even I think that due to the number of cases each judge handles,
Mhm.
every judge doesn't get the time to get into details of each case he handles. So
That's that's a separate, entirely separate discussion.
yeah, right,
It will take its own.
right,
But the point what I was making was, if the legal system was working fast, efficiently, and judiciously, people will not resort to such kind of techniques to subvert or circumvent the. They are not trying to arrive at illegal things. They are trying to legally arrive at a solution, arrive at a legal solution illegally,
hmm,
sort of. And that is what is creating future problems. So the real crux is to improve. So this accounts for like 80% of criminal cases that you can see. Not 80, maybe 50 or 60. I'm just from
yeah,
my experience. But if you really look at the hardcore real criminal cases, those are probably easier to morally justify for the advocate, because the advocate is not really doing anything. um he is more defending the law rather than the client.
right, right. Also, I just came to know that a death sentence is usually not given. Like, it's very rare that a death sentence is given to anyone. And like the case laws which we have also, they like the supportive. So it's quite difficult to take a judgment on which crime or which type of case, under which type of case uh, the convict can be given a death sentence. So this is quite difficult for the judges also to decide, and that's why in one of like rarest of rare cases, death sentence is usually given. And in life imprisonment, it's like 14 years. After that, you are out of it.
uh, I mean, yes, but that is more to cover up the inadequacies of our investigation side. uh, so what happens is that in many cases, if you see, um, there are two elements of it. First of all, the nature of the crime, and you leave aside, let's say that it's the most heinous of the crime, and that is it's the rarest of the rare crime, but the evidence should give you that certainty that this is truly a case which can be conclusively held against this person. Now, there are so many gaps that in terms of legally, when you look at a case and when you look at the investigation, there are multiple gaps in the investigation. Now, like 90% of these gaps are not material. Some are having some weight, okay, and some of them, if you see, uh, they really turn the case. Now, in all such cases, are you willing to condemn a person to death, where there is no, you cannot, uh, you can't say, "Ki, it's my mistake," and later, and then say, "Ki, okay, oh, I'm sorry, I got it wrong." You can't say that. So the judge, see, the thing is, see, the judge also doesn't know exactly what are the circumstances, what happened. Uh, So judge has to weigh in on the certainty that he can establish the evidence or read the evidence with conviction that he feels about the evidence. Then the nature of the crime, the nature of the actions of all the people who are supposedly aiding and abetting, or who contributed to it, or in whatever sense. And all of this is, in certain cases, it is not very crystal clear. It is not very, it's very subjective. It's not very objective. So a person who is used to a particular uh, lifestyle, if the judge is used to a particular lifestyle, he might find something very drastic. But if he is used to a different kind of lifestyle, if he has experienced cases where a lot of violence has, is a norm, then he will weigh in a different way. So it is, there's a lot of subjectivity to it. Uh, what judges must understand is that they have to be humble about their limitations, and not, what judges, and particularly I'm referring to the recent case where the court famously gave a quotation saying that every sinner has a future. And that kind of quotation came at the, uh, the way that the court said that, it came out in the very wrong sense. And that statement by the judge made the victim feel smaller. Now it was not the court's business to do that. The court could have said that I am unfortunately tied up, or I am compelled to sort of view all this, and sort of, you know maybe reluctantly giving this sinner a chance. Maybe he will do it, but this is his last chance, or something like that. And that would have sort of given the victim also its due respect. It's a 4-year old. The victim in that case was 4-year old. So you have to be cognizant of when you are giving, your statements from a high moral, you know, ground, and when you are accepting with humility that there are certain limitations, and then probably let's try it out. So in the movie Do Aankhein Bara Haath, if I mean, lawyers should definitely see that. Uh, it's about, um sort of, um, 12 hardened criminals. This guy, he takes, I think he's a doctor in that movie, and he sort of challenges himself to reform them. And there is a whole process, and then, of course, it's a dramatic movie. But many of these questions are actually, because the 12 that he selects are completely gone case as per uh, the wisdom of other people. And that's where, even in their mind, there is some change. So can you say that some people can change? Of course, but you have to try it in that earnest. You can't simply demean the victim and say from a high moral ground that I have the power to choose the sentence. And I think, I will, because today I'm feeling a little magnanimous, I will give him, acquit him. I will give him extra benefits. I will punish him because I'm not feeling good today. Those kinds of things the judges should avoid. They should be sensitive to the victims who are trying to get justice for years. It's not like, few days, few months. The their psychological scars are also kept alive because of the judicial delays. So I have to be cognizant of these. That's what I believe.
Mm. Okay. Uh, I think we can wrap up today's conversation unless we have any other questions from the audience, or you have anything to say, like any concluding remarks about today's conversation.
I mean, I think, if you look at most of these issues between lawyers and judges, they are not very clear cut. They are not like black and white. They are always shades of gray. And particularly criminal lawyers and lawyers in general need to have a mechanism to share these with some sort of a colleague or friend or something of that sort, or a therapist, to sort of unload these, because they are very difficult moral issues. They are tremendously stressful if you let them fester in your mind. And that is where you have to, because you also are bound not to disclose client details to other people. So you need to find someone who is within the confidence parameters of laid down by the land, by the law of the land, and then discuss these kinds of issues with, but do have some outlet, so that they don't burden you, because they are not very clear cut. They are not very black and white, and there are lots of gray areas in these. So, or you can listen to conversations like this, so that you realize that there are others also who feel these kinds of you know conflicts in their own minds, and then you feel better about it also.
Okay. On that note, let's end this conversation. Guys, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for topics which we can talk about in these conversations, do comment it below in the chat, or in the live chat, or in the comments below. Or you can DM me on Instagram too, or tag us on Twitter and tweet it out too. So you have multiple options. Do something, and yeah, see you in the next conversation. We are planning to have such conversations every week with Rahul sir and with other guests too. So if you think any other guest, like would be a lawyer or anyone who is practicing in this field, would can contribute immensely to this such conversations, do send us the suggestions. Thank you all. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you.